first of all, the most important thing we need to realize is that mitigation is not working. We've been in negotiations since 1992. We've been talking about reducing global emissions, and every single year emissions are rising. We need to think around what are the possible options we have that will help us reduce emissions. So that is the first thing I want to say. And this is the challenge I face with the youth movement, that we tend to follow a global narrative and we get lost in that global narrative. It doesn't make any sense from my perspective for a young kid in Ethiopia, for instance, or in Ghana to be campaigning saying that fly less. That person might never even get a chance to board a plane. So it doesn't make sense to say fly less. Meanwhile, there's drought, there's floods, and that adaptation and resilience is the most important thing. So I think that whole global narrative that puts some of these measures on the sideline to say that no, let's not focus on that. We can reduce emissions significantly by challenging industries, challenging countries. We've been challenging that since 1992. Now tell me a single year when emissions has run down. It's not happening. So we shouldn't go with that global narrative saying that we shouldn't look at other options. We can reduce emissions by simply planting trees. Yes, we can. But will it be able to meet the scale of the impact that is ahead of us? No. So we need to invest in research, we need to invest in other options, and more importantly, young people need to realize that whatever negotiations are going on here is their life on the lifeline. It's their life that is being negotiated on. So either you feed into a global narrative or you look at the next few years and understand that even if we hit 1.5 degrees, which is, hopefully we can do that, but most likely we might not, given how commitments have been made. If you do not meet 1.5 degrees, the consequences are great. Even if you meet 1.5 degrees, the consequences are unbearable. So emission reduction is an essence. We cannot miss that. Adaptation and resilience is a must. Loss and damage is a must. And we need to advocate for them in their right proportions and not follow one narrative where we all say loss and damage and that is it. Or we say mitigation and that it is. We need a different mix of solutions, advocacy, and policies that will let us really create the life that we want to have ahead of us. The second thing I want to say around why I'm supporting the knowledge, awareness, and spread around this topic is that it is catching up. Some countries are piloting, some countries are researching, some countries are actively looking into it. Last year, comparing last year's session that were around this topic compared to this year, there are more conversations around climate intervention. My problem is how many young people from the global south have access to education, knowledge, and skills on this topic. And this is my call. So when I got in touch with SilverLining, I said, you are leading an incredible work on research around this topic. How can we work together to make sure that young people in the South can have equal access to knowledge, information, understanding on this topic? How do we make it easy for young people to understand? How does a young student who wants to build profession in this area get the chance to learn about this and be an expert in this topic? So that is my main motivation. I'm happy that we could do this. We need to first of all advocate for our government to form partnerships, relationship, exchange programs that allow our students in the South to be able to go learn about these things and eventually set up institutions in the global South that can do some of this research and produce the knowledge that is needed. At the end of the day, I mean, this is needed because countries like mine and like yours are going to flood. So why not really empower those countries to have the knowledge and skills and the understanding for interventions like this?